the actual effects are what. Okay, again, some review. HPA Axis, and again, the reason for talking about this has to do with the action of some of these drugs. Okay, in fight or flight responses, when it's deemed that there is danger in the environment, then it activates this pathway, beginning with the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus releases CRF. Let me see if I've got a slide here. CRF. Now, we're seeing this again. Remember, this is a neurotransmitter that turns on the locus coeruleus in an entirely different part of the brain. It is activating the pituitary gland. So its action is very different. Now, it is a releasing factor, and it causes the pituitary gland to dump into circulation ACTH. And for the purposes of this class, these details are not critical. But what is important is that in stress reactions, ACTH activates receptors in the outer part of the adrenal gland, the adrenal cortex, and releases the stress hormone cortisol. Cortisol goes up to higher brain areas like the hippocampus, like the cingulate gyrus, turns them on, and they shut down the HPA axis. Okay? And we'll see that this system can get very screwed up in certain kinds of psychiatric conditions where there's a failure for these higher brain areas to exercise control over these more primitive parts of the brain. So again, just the concept in general of top-down control. Okay. Okay, now I'll tell you what, I'm going to skip over some of these because I think that we'll get to them later. I like to go ahead a few slides. We'll take a look at this diagram again. We've looked at threat appraisal. We've looked at it turning on the locus coeruleus. Okay. We looked at this pathway, the hypothalamus, pituitary, and the adrenal gland. Okay, releasing cortisol, which activates top-down control. Okay. There are two other things I want to talk about. One of them is the hypothalamic pituitary thyroid pathway, or sometimes called the hypothalamic pituitary thyroid axis. And in stress responses, this also gets activated and releases the two thyroid hormones T3 and T4. And these hormones then go into circulation and go almost everywhere in the body. And what they do is they regulate the general metabolic activity of cells. And what you'll see in human terms is if the thyroid levels are too low, then people are not burning calories the way they used to. They may eat the same amount of food, but they're gaining weight, sometimes substantially. If they have hyperthyroid, it's jazzing up things, and so they're going to be burning more calories and they're going to be losing weight. Likewise, hypothyroid can cause depression and fatigue. Hyper can cause agitation and anxiety. Okay? And then the final pathway is the sympathetic nervous system. Okay? And so we're going to look at two ways this has an influence on stress responses. First off, one of the main ones is it goes almost everywhere in the body, like I talked about before, and causes the release of what? Anybody remember? Okay, norepinephrine, right. And this affects adrenaline and norepinephrine receptors out in the body. And where you see most of those are on the heart and arteries. If I've got to run away from danger, I got to increase my cardiac output and I need to increase blood pressure because I got to get energy and oxygen to my muscles and my brain in amounts that are huge, and I have to do it immediately. Okay, so what it does, when it activates these receptors on arteries, arteries clamp down throughout the entire body. If you ever take a hose, a garden hose, and put your thumb over it, and makes it come out stronger, the jet of water. You clamp down the arteries, it increases blood pressure, and also it goes to the heart and increases cardiac output. And so that immediately results in significant increase of blood pressure. In fact, there are some people who go to the doctor, and they go into the doctor and they take their blood pressure, and it's always high, but sometimes it's never high except when they go to the doctor. Why? Because they get nervous when they're at the doctor. One of my friends, had that problem because that was a stressor. Okay, so that's the lightning fast approach to activating the body. Another piece of the sympathetic nervous system goes into the core of the adrenal gland, the adrenal medulla. Now here, this is the one exception, and this is just trivia. Okay, norepinephrine is used throughout the body. Here, the sympathetic nervous system squirts adrenaline into the center of the adrenal gland. So for whatever reason it's slightly different. But the main thing is that this gets activated, and then this dumps adrenaline and norepinephrine into the circulation system. Okay, so let's look at this again for just a moment. This pathway, and this pathway all rely on circulation of hormones to have their greatest impact, which means that probably they come along, you get an immediate response to the sympathetic nervous system, and then you get like a tsunami of additional stress hormones maybe 15 seconds later. Okay, so again, when people say, "Oh, I got immediate upset," it's the adrenaline pumping. It's not adrenaline. No, you can be a big shot, show off, and say, "Excuse me, but I think you're talking about norepinephrine." Okay.